Hi all, Dwayne Theobald here, coordinator of the University Writing Center here at the University of West Georgia. What I'm going to do today in this video is just kind of walk you through some information that is related to the writing process. It's actually why I have this presentation titled What I Do, of Remembering the Writing Process. Because one of the things that I'm convinced of, and I can speak to this from my own experience in undergrad and graduate studies, but also in working with other students in other disciplines at all different levels. One of the things that tends to happen is the higher we climb in our field of study and we're looking at research and considering the content that we need to address, one of the things that tends to happen a lot is we forget the basic things, the essential things that need to occur during any writing assignment or over the course of any kind of writing assignment or writing project. So a lot of what I'm going to be covering today is, are things that you have definitely heard. I'm sure you've, you heard about at some point in a class or series of classes, or maybe you actually have colleagues that teach these things to their students. So I really want this to kind of be just kind of remembering some of the things that you maybe have heard previously, and of course I'm going to pin down some of these things with some examples, and of course talk a little bit about some resources that can help you as you move forward. So one of the things that I always like to start off saying is that writing is hard, and by that I mean writing isn't hard for everyone across the board in the same ways, but at least in my experience, most people tend to struggle with at least one thing, if not multiple things. And of course, when you're in certain programs, and for all of you watching this, you're in a graduate program, you do probably feel like you're writing all the things all the time, and it can be exhausting. It can be very time consuming as well. And then of course, there are the instances where you know what you need to write about, but you don't necessarily know how to write about it, or maybe you don't know what you're writing about, and you don't know how to really clearly articulate those ideas and structure those ideas, and really consider what you need to get across to your reader, but you don't quite know how to get yourself there, to at least a rough draft that will allow you to revise, improve, and get the most polished product possible to submit to your professor. And that's really what I want to cover today. There are things within this particular idea of writing being challenging and conveying your ideas. There are things that are that are essential to the writing process that will make this a little bit easier for you as you move forward. So what I want to do is I want to cover first and foremost introduction paragraphs. Talk a little bit about intros, talk a little bit about body paragraphs. What are some things you should consider, particularly thinking about topic sentences, making sure that you have good topic sentences in your body paragraphs. I do want to talk about conclusion paragraphs, or as I like to call them, the bane of my existence. I'll get more into those in just a bit. I do want to cover just in one slide some general writing tips, and of course mention some websites that will be useful to you, or I hope will be useful to you as you keep writing. And of course, because I do run the Writing Center, I do want to make a quick plug for us. That way you know what we're here to do, how we're here to support you as you move forward in the current semester, but of course as you move into future semesters as well. So first up, introduction paragraphs. These can be tricky to write. In my experience, a lot of writers tend to struggle getting started or finishing any kind of writing assignment. And introduction can be tricky because it's hard to figure out a good way to start talking about your topic sometimes. What's that first sentence going to be? How are you going to, wade into the waters of your topic, whether it's a topic that can be covered relatively quickly or it's one that's going to take a good bit of time. And in graduate studies, sometimes your topics are large enough that you need to there's the concern about how much to flesh out in the intro and moving forward. Again, some people hit an introduction paragraph and they freeze. So a couple of things that I would encourage you to think about with an introduction paragraph. And also keep in mind, when I say paragraph, also know that a lot of what I'm going to cover here could be translated or transferred over into an introduction, like an introduction section of a larger assignment, meaning that it could be more than one paragraph. So ideally for an introduction, you would spend a few sentences or a paragraph if it's a longer assignment. So again, if you have a multiple paragraph section, you may spend one paragraph of that section, really giving the reader a glimpse into your topic. Set the stage for them. Let them know what you're going to be covering, or kind of let them know what some of the context for what you're going to be covering in that particular assignment. Now again, you're not going to give them everything, but you do want to give them a nice little overview, a snapshot of what your topic is, what text you're working with, what idea you're going to be working with as you move throughout that assignment. Then, of course, you want to begin to narrow down what your assignment is really going to focus on, what the specific focus, what the specific concept is that you're going to flesh out in full throughout the course of the assignment, regardless of how long the assignment is. You want to start a little bit broad to kind of get your reader's attention, capture their interest, and then begin to narrow your focus down to the main thing you're going to cover moving forward. And then, of course, you would, in your conclusion or in your conclusion section, if it's a longer assignment, with the argumentative thesis statement, the main claim, the overall goal, essentially the argument. What are you arguing? What are you fleshing out? What are you trying to demonstrate or prove throughout the course of this assignment? That is what is going to be at the very bottom. And one way to think about this is to think of it like an inverted pyramid. And you'll see it in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. So when we think of a pyramid, of course, we think of it being narrow at the top and then broadening up towards its base. But think of your introduction as, again, inverted. You're going to start a little bit broad. You're going to start and give that context for your topic or for whatever it is you're going to be fleshing out throughout the course of that assignment. And then you're going to narrow yourself down with some explanatory sentences that narrow the focus, that get you away from, okay, here's the broad, here's what you essentially need to know to understand this topic. Now let's get down to the nitty-gritty of what I really want to cover, and that what you really want to cover is going to be addressed toward the bottom of that inverted pyramid, and is going to end with for some assignments it may be called a thesis statement, for some it could be a argument, main claim, the overall goal, whatever it is, but that needs to be the last thing that is addressed at the end of that introduction paragraph, or the end of the introduction section of your longer assignment. So again, if you're watching this and you're one of the people who struggles with introductions, again, use some of these pointers. Now keep in mind, and I'll mention this later on, the first introduction that you write, the first little bit that you get out for your introduction, it may not be perfect, and if it's not perfect, that's okay. I can't tell you how many times I have worked on papers and the first thing I wrote out was, in most cases, it wasn't very good. That's pretty common. Give yourself time to write the introduction that is just kind of there. It's not perfect, but you got something. It's easier to work with something, and you can work with something. You can't work with nothing. So give yourself time to get that introduction out, even if it's just okay, or even if it's just kind of crummy. You got something, and then you can keep moving forward with your drafting. Of course, after you have an introduction and you have an argument, that's awesome, but there are other things you want to consider to make sure you have a strong, solid assignment, that you actually do what you're supposed to do, you cover what you're supposed to, but you do it in a framework that is going to make sense both to you but also to your reader. You want to think about your body paragraphs in particular. So after your introduction, then you move into the body paragraphs, or the body of your paper. That's the bulk of the assignment. That's really where you're going to provide as many details, as much information about your topic as possible to persuade your reader, to convince them of your logic, to present the evidence that you need to. You want to make sure that you have the following, though. The first and foremost thing, the biggest thing you want to have, is you want to have a clear topic sentence. It's got to be clear and concise. This is really, in many cases, kind of a mini thesis or a mini argument that lets your reader know what you're going to specifically cover in that paragraph or in that section. Now, I know for APA, which again, all of you who are watching this, I know are probably utilizing APA. I know that you have different levels of headings that serve as kind of a glimpse of what you're going to cover in that section of the paper. That's fantastic. I'm still going to suggest, and I'm a big believer in, even if you do that, you still should have some kind of topic sentence there to let your reader know what you're going to cover in that paragraph, where you're going to take them, what you're going to flesh out, and to what degree. Topic sentence is going to be the first sentence of that paragraph, not the last sentence of the previous paragraph. Again, the topic sentence has to be what starts the paragraph and kind of whets the reader's appetite, so to speak, of when it comes to what you're going to cover in that particular area. Topic sentences in many cases will use keywords or phrases from the thesis or your main argument to indicate which part you're going to discuss. And again, don't feel as though if you pull a keyword or a key idea from the argument and use it in a topic sentence that that's cheating. It's not cheating at all, and it's not you being super repetitive. What it is, it demonstrates to your reader in most cases that you're really consciously, cognitively aware of your argument, of the main claim, and you're bringing that back around, and it's coming full circle in multiple places throughout the course of your assignment. Topic sentences are going to tell the reader what concept's going to be discussed, and of course it does provide an introduction to the paragraph. And it should point back to the subject or the main idea presented in the thesis statement, the argument, the overall goal or claim, whatever it is that you're working with for your assignment. Again, you want to make sure that that connection back to the thesis or the main idea, the main claim is always there. If you happen to write something in a body paragraph and you read back through your paper and you're not quite clear why that idea or why those couple sentences are present, you typically have to ask yourself one of two things. One, how can I take this concept or these sentences and connect them back to the overall objective for my assignment, the overall claim or the thesis itself? Or maybe I should take these sentences, copy them, cut them out, put them in another Word document, and as I keep reading and as I keep revising and fleshing out my assignment, maybe those ideas would better be utilized somewhere else in the assignment. Do take the time to cut and paste into another Word document. Don't just cut the sentences out. Don't ever do that. I can say that from experience because it sucks when you do that. Because again, when those ideas are gone, they're gone. You can't get them back. But if they're in another Word document that's just kind of there as a kind of a place for you to put stuff, and you're not quite sure where the stuff should be yet, again, it can't hurt anything to have it available and potentially you utilize it as you move forward with your assignment. So what I want to do now is I want us to take just a minute to actually kind of conceptualize how to write a topic sentence. So what I want you to do is I want you to take just a minute and read through the paragraph on the screen. Just read through what is there. Again, it's not very lengthy. Just kind of read through what's there. Okay, I imagine some of you are still reading. But what I want you to kind of think about as I'm talking through this, again, keep reading. One of the things that I always suggest when you're trying to come up with a topic sentence, maybe you have, like this example demonstrates, just some ideas that are just there. You have a paragraph, you've got ideas, but they're not really connected in a clear way. And again, a topic sentence can help do that. A topic sentence can help bring things together. It can kind of help serve as an introduction for the paragraph. So we have, of course, a time period, which is the 1990s. We have the show Friends. We have a character being mentioned from Friends. We have the mention of Guess Jeans and Calvin Klein and Sassy Magazine and, things that are very kind of pop culture, in a pop culture mindset, right? We also have Rachel's haircut. We, again, through talking about jeans, that's things that are related to fashion. And of course, Sassy Magazine being, kind of a pop culture, kind of a place to consider what is popular in pop culture at that point. So when you're thinking about your paragraphs, you're wondering if you have a clear topic sentence, look at what you've got and look to see, okay, I don't have a topic sentence, but I have these ideas. What's common? What are some things that are common amongst all of these sentences? What are some ideas that I could maybe pull out and utilize as I craft a topic sentence? So as you notice, I did say there's instances or mentions of things that are related to pop culture here. There's also things that are related to fashion. So those are two common threads, and of course there's the our focal point in terms of time for this paragraph is the 1990s. So if we wanted to put together a topic sentence, here's one way that it could be done. Thinking about the 1990s brings back a lot of memories for me about fashion and popular culture. So again, like I just mentioned, there are mentions of things that are related to pop culture here. There are things related to fashion. And of course, using the 1990s as a focal point, like a fixture in time, helps bring these ideas that are present together a little bit more because there is a topic sentence that introduces what's going to follow. Without that topic sentence, you've got information, but the information doesn't fully connect and isn't fully gelling the way that it should be. So again, keep in mind that's what a topic sentence can do. Now again, this is not the end-all be-all topic sentence. There are other things that you could probably do to make this even a little bit clearer, or maybe utilize different wording, but this is a way to bring it all together. Okay, some other important details to consider with body paragraphs. You do want to have clear and logical transitions between your paragraphs. Again, I know with APA you do have your section headings, but it can still be useful to maybe have some transitions here and there to let your reader know where you're heading next and what they can really expect from the next section or the next area within your paper. Do make sure that you have evidence that supports your argument. You do want to make sure that you have good ideas, have good concepts, have good claims that you make throughout any writing assignment, but you do want to bring in information from primary sources, secondary sources that'll prove the overall goal and claim that you're trying to get across to your reader throughout the course of your assignment. You do want to make sure that those are present. You do want to make sure that those are cited appropriately. Do be careful not to utilize generalizations using things like all women have been oppressed. What evidence can you provide to support that notion? If you're going to make a statement, you need to make a statement that's specific and that you can then find sources to tie to it and to help prove the point that you're trying to make. Also, consider quotation integration. I cannot tell you enough how important it is that if you have a quote and you include a quote or include something that's paraphrased in your assignment, make sure that you provide setup for that particular source. Make sure that you let your reader know where it came from, why it's important. Don't just plop a quote down in your assignment and expect your reader to understand why it's there. Most readers are sophisticated enough that they will understand why it's there, but it's your job as the writer to really make those connections for them so that they can really understand. And one thing I do want to show you really quickly is there is that's not popping up for some reason, but there are resources on our website that do help with quotation integration, and I'll talk more about those here in just a few minutes. And of course, I do want to show you just an example of quotation, utilizing quotations and having the analysis and explanation. Again, if you're going to provide a quotation or even a piece of paraphrased information, do make sure to provide it, give it proper context, make sure that you lead into it and make it fully fleshed out as possible, and then explain why the quote or the paraphrase material is there. Don't just leave it there for the reader to figure out why it's present. An example I have here, and again, I won't read this fully, but one of the things I want to kind of show you is when you're providing information, or doing specific quotes, you do want to provide some kind of lead-in phrase, as I provide here, having a colon, having the quotation here. Again, this is cited in MLA, so please forgive me, it doesn't look like APA exactly. And of course, having little bits of language here and there that you might quote directly, but do know that at a certain point, which actually starts right here at during, from there onward, that's really where you get your explanation and your analysis. You're making the connection between these quotes, this piece of your text, or this piece of the source, and you're discussing it and bringing it back to the overall thesis, the overall claim or objective that you're going to utilize. And now to conclusions. As I mentioned earlier, the bane of my existence. I'll be honest with you, I'm one of those people that struggles with conclusions because for me, when I'm working on a paper, by the time I get to my conclusion, I'm done. I don't want to say anything else. And honestly, I kind of have this voice in my head that says, reader, you know why I'm talking about this. You know what I've been trying to explain. Can I just be done? Do I have to give you another paragraph? Because honestly, you get tired. And again, I can totally relate to that. A lot of writers feel this. But you do have to have a conclusion. You have to have bookends. You have to have that intro that introduces your paper and gets you going. And you have to have a conclusion that wraps it all up and pulls your reader out as they finish your assignment. So do make sure that you have a conclusion paragraph. Again, a conclusion is going to really bring closure to your argument or the information you presented that you've really spent time and space piecing together. Because again, putting together a paper, and I don't say this lightly, it takes work, whether it's short or long. It takes time to do that. So you want to make sure, not just for your reader, but also for yourself, to kind of bring to a close everything you've been discussing for the pages that you've been discussing it. Have a conclusion that does something. Don't let your conclusion just restate everything you've mentioned in the essay previously. One, that's just being repetitive, and also it's a little bit boring for your reader. Synthesize the information presented in the body and consider the larger so what, or in some cases, the significance. You know, why have you written this paper or the assignment? Why have you addressed the topic in the way that you have? Why are you considering this idea in the manner in which you've done it? Those kind of things are really important to keep in mind, and they can be challenging. So one of the things that I would recommend is give yourself time to really flesh out that conclusion and flesh out the larger significance if that's what you're going for. You can also have a conclusion that points to broader implications, or that proposes a course of action or a solution, or poses questions for further study. Again, different kinds of assignments may necessitate a different kind of conclusion, but do know that conclusions can do many of these things. And of course, it could also include a provocative insight or quotation from research or reading that you did in your paper. This I would be a little bit careful of, because there is a fine line between providing a piece of insight that is interesting to wrap up and then providing a piece of insight that really necessitates more argumentation and more analysis, which again, you don't need to do in your conclusion, because that's not really what a conclusion calls for. And do keep in mind that conclusions can often be the most difficult to write, so give yourself plenty of time to do it. Again, a paper in and of itself can take a lot of time, but there are a lot of writers, just like with the introductions, conclusions can take a good bit of time as well. And of course, many writers do write themselves into their argument, meaning your argument, what you're really trying to say, the main claim you're trying to address, comes into play when you're in your conclusion. And the reason why that tends to happen for a lot of writers is because early on in your introduction, you know how I mentioned earlier, you may have an introduction that's just there. If you have an introduction that's just there, your argument and your claim and your objective may just be kind of there too. It may just be present and not fully fleshed out. But throughout the course of you looking at your body, you fleshing out the body paragraphs and fleshing out your evidence, and you're doing the explanation and the analysis, the more you do that, the more your brain's probably going to be turning, and the more you realize, oh my gosh, I really have this conclusion. This is what I'm trying to get across. And often what times what you need to do is you take whatever that is, that maybe you come to in the latter part of your body of the paper or the conclusion. You need to take that, take it back up to the introduction, and do a little bit of revision to the introduction, specifically to the main claim or the thesis that you have put together initially. Some other general writing tips after you draft. Proofread and edit. I cannot emphasize this enough. Do not let the first draft be the final draft. And again, I know this is easier said than done, especially for graduate students like yourselves. You're working, you have families, you have other obligations, you got a lot of stuff going on. I get it. But I can also tell you from my experience and from working with other writers, the first draft of anything you write is typically not going to be exactly what you want it to be. It's not going to say everything you want it to say, and also it's not going to be as polished as you would probably like it to be. So give yourself time to really flesh out what you want, kind of what you want to do, and then get that draft done, set it aside for a minute if you have time, then bring it back with hopefully a fresh set of fresh eyes to do some proofing and editing and really looking through what you've written. Read your work out loud and listen to what you've written. This is really huge. If I had $1 for every time, especially in my graduate program, I read something in my own paper and I uttered the phrase, "I don't know what the hell this says," I could retire right now. I could, because for me as a writer, I know, and a lot of other writers are this way, you know what you want to say in your head, but something crazy happens from your head to the keyboard. Ideas get lost, or ideas don't get fleshed out the way you want them to. So if you read your work out loud and you hear what you've written, you can hear some areas where there are inconsistencies in language. Maybe there's some gaps in logic. Maybe you didn't explain something the way you wanted to and you want to change some wording. There are things like that that can be really valuable if you give yourself the time to read it out loud and hear what you've written. And of course, when you do a read through of your paper, I would encourage you, when you're doing proofing and editing, look for one issue or error at a time. This is very important and it's very very big to keep in mind when you're thinking about grammar. If you know you struggle with commas, you know you struggle with subject-verb agreement, you know you struggle with maybe run-on sentences, try not to do one read through of a paper to look for all three of those things. Because if you do, you will definitely catch areas where you do make those mistakes and you can correct them, but you're probably going to miss some as well because your mind is trying to go in three different directions looking for three different things rather than focusing on one thing that you know you can take a look at. And again, I know everything I'm mentioning here requires time, and sometimes you don't have it. But I would encourage you, if you can structure your time, to give yourself the time on the back end to really do some of this lifting. It will make a big difference with your assignment. I can promise you that. Of course, follow style guidelines. Of course, for your program, APA, that's exactly what you need to be using. I'll tell you right now, when it comes to citation styles, do not memorize any of the information you need. A style requires. You don't need to. Use your brain space for other things that are more important and that you will need to access more regularly. Just utilize things like EDLE at Purdue, your manual. All of those things can help you. And also utilize grammar resources regularly. So EDLE at Purdue has really good resources. Again, I'll just pull up some of them here on the screen. If you go to EDLE at Purdue's website, and again, this is their homepage, you can get to it by just Googling OWL, O-W-L, like the bird, at Purdue University. If you go to, let's see, general writing and then grammar, you'll see, close that out, you'll see a good number of resources right here. So a lot of the things that you might have questions about, this will help cover a lot of it. And if it doesn't happen to cover, let's say it doesn't cover something in particular you're looking for, you can always break it down and look a little bit further into it. For punctuation, you'll see there's things to help out with commas. Again, a lot of really good information on here. And then also, go to the Writing Center's website. So we have resources on our website. And again, our website is wesca.edu/writing. Or you can just go to West Georgia's homepage and click on the magnifying glass and type in Writing Center, and it'll give you access to this page. A lot of really good information on our website. In particular, if you hover under student resources, you're going to see a good number of links here. Know that you can utilize anything that's available on our website. In particular, I do want to point you to the writing resources page. This is going to be a good starting place for you when it comes to accessing resources from our website. One place that I always encourage people to start is with the writing process. So we've talked a little bit about that today. This is a really good place to start because it does talk about the writing process even in more detail than what we've discussed today. It also has cool little GIFs on here. I can't take credit for any of that. That was one of our previous employees who put this together. She did a really nice job. And of course, you go down here, you see that there are different links to different resources. With grammar, of course, you click on the grammar tab, verbs, punctuation like commas, apostrophes, so on and so forth. If you go back, you'll see that there are some things that help with finding evidence. I mentioned earlier integrating quotations. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, so here's our integrating quotation information. Again, talks about how to set up a quote, provide the citation at the end. Again, a lot of good stuff on here. I really encourage you just to take a quick look at it, get familiar with it that way as you're working through things in the future. And this class and others, you'll have this available to you. And then to wrap up, I do want to mention the University Writing Center and our services. We are physically located in TLC 1201. Again, that's a Technology Enhanced Learning Center. You'll see here, I have a picture of our front door. I like to point this out because if you don't remember, we're in 1201 on the first floor. If you're on the first floor and you run around long enough, you will run into our office because there is a big mural around our entryway. It's all over our entryway, actually. So if you're looking for us and you see the mural, know that's where we're located. Know that you can utilize our services for any class, and I really do mean that. It could be any writing assignment, and I also mean that. Know that you can come at any point during the writing process. We are available to help you with any kind a writing assignment, and it can be at any point while you're working on it. We have students who utilize our services when they have finished a draft. We have some who come to us when they are halfway through a draft and want some feedback. We also have students who have made appointments with us just to sit and brainstorm, just to talk about what they think they want to do with their assignment, kind of serve as work kind of a good way to bounce ideas off of someone, and just kind of get some general feedback before you get too far into a draft. Do let us know what you need help with, though. If you're concerned about argumentation, you're concerned about how you use your evidence, you're concerned about a grammar issue or a citation issue, give us an idea of what that something is, and we will do what we can to help you with that issue as you move forward. Do utilize our services before it's urgent, though. Yeah, I know you all are graduate students, and I imagine y'all are pretty good when it comes to writing things at a pretty steady rate, but I also know that life happens. If you do want to use our services, I really do recommend coming and giving yourself a buffer between utilizing our services in our office and, of course, then turning in the assignment. That way, however you use our services, whatever way you use our services, you have time to digest the feedback from us, tweak with your assignment, make revisions to factor that in, and then turn in an assignment that's hopefully going to be better quality and get you a better grade. We will do a lot of things to help you out. The only thing we will not do is edit your paper. We do not copy edit. So we won't go through and correct grammar issues for you. But if you know for a fact you struggle with commas, you struggle with run-on sentences, let us know that. When I mentioned earlier letting us know what your question or concern is, let us know that one of those things are a problem for you or something else. And we'll look for that in your assignment, point out some areas where you're doing it, and talk with you and show you how to go about correcting it. Because we are existing during a really strange and stressful time, our center, just like other areas of campus, are trying to make sure we are available to any and all students, regardless of what program you're in, whether you're an undergraduate or graduate student. We are available in 3 different ways. Face-to-face, so if you, again, have the ability to come to our office, you can. You can meet with us face-to-face. It's limited capacity, of course. You can stop by our office, call or email to schedule that. We are available for asynchronous paper review. We have a course location that everyone will be enrolled in for spring. I'm actually recording this at the end of fall, so it is not done yet. But in the spring, if you go to your CourseDone homepage, there will be a course there titled University Writing Center Online Consultations Spring 2021. If you click into that, you'll see a message kind of directing you for how to submit something. Go into the available Dropbox, submit the assignment, no more than 7 pages. Give us some information, and we will get you your feedback get you feedback on that assignment in 48 hours or less. And of course, you can always schedule a synchronous video session with us. Just shoot us an email. We'll get you set up. We use Collaborate Ultra. If you're familiar with that platform, it's very easy to use. If you're not, it's very similar to like Google Meet or Zoom. Again, it's really nice. What we do is we actually set it up so that you can provide you can share your screen, the consultant can share theirs, and you can have a really good real-time dialogue about your assignment. And of course, the hours and availability are on our website, here on our homepage. You'll see this gray box here. Already has our spring information updated, so the hours for face-to-face are here. The hours for the hours that the asynchronous paper review, the drop boxes are open, are here. And then the synchronous video session hours are here as well. Of note, because I know you all are graduate students, weekends might be better for you. Know that we will have Sunday hours from 12 to 5. And you can schedule with us and we'll get that set up. And one of our consultants will be more than happy to help you. And of course, if you scroll down a little bit further, all the hours and everything, all of our face-to-face hours are located here. Our noon hours are located here, things like that. So again, really good information on our website all the way around. I do encourage you to keep it in mind. So to wrap up, again, all of our contact information is right here. Our website is right here. Do note that we will have an advertisement, like an actual poster, like we had in the fall. Again, I'm recording this on December the 14th. Yes. So we do not have that advertisement done yet. It is in process, but once we do, we'll make sure to provide that to your professors so they can provide it to you through CourseDone. But again, that'll have a reminder of all of our hours as well. Also, feel free to follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Those are really good ways to kind of keep up with us, to know what we're doing. We're always going to remind you to come and see us. We're also going to let you know when we're going to have one-off workshops about certain topics. Just as a heads up, we are going to have 2 APA workshops that will be in the evenings. So hopefully there'll be times that will work best for you. I, of course, will make sure that your professors know about those, but also know that those will be on our social media as well. And of course, if you have any questions about the Writing Center or writing in general, down here in the very bottom is my contact information, my phone number, and my email address. I am really easy to get a hold of. If you do call me, know that there might be a lag time because I'm not always physically in my office. But if you email me, I will get back to you. That is the fastest way to get a hold of me. Because even if I'm not physically in my office, I have my phone on me. I have no problem responding to an email between presentations to classes, between meetings, whatever it might be. I'll be more than happy to help you out. One thing I do want to leave you with is, I recognize that we are existing in a very strange time right now. The fall was very stressful. Before that was very stressful. Spring is still going to be stressful, even though we have a vaccine that is out there and it's, already been made available to people in other countries, and it's started to be made available here in the States. The spring's still going to be challenging. And I know that for all of you with your personal lives and your professional lives, things are also stressful. And of course, taking that and then adding that into adding school into the mix, it can make it really challenging as well, or even more challenging. What I want you to know is that our office is available for you and available to help you out with anything, just like your professors are available to you and just like everything else on our campus is available to you. Do know that you can utilize us and utilize other things to help you be successful. Of course, during a regular semester, things like this are here, but also know that during a semester like the one we're in currently, we're here to help you out as well. We'll do whatever we can to help you be successful. If you need anything, again, please reach out to me or reach out to the center. We will do what we can to help you out. Take care of yourselves. And again, I wish you the very best of luck as you move throughout the semester. Thanks.